Warning: the following episode of Data and Dissonance contains unapologetically conservative commentary, strong language, and the kind of truth bombs that tend to ruin Thanksgiving for liberals. Listener discretion is advised, especially if you're spending Thursday with relatives who think the government is their dad, CNN is scripture, and the Epstein files only incriminate Republicans. This is your pre-Thanksgiving warm-up, a full hour of armor plating before you enter battle at the dinner table.
It's Thanksgiving week, a time for family, good food, and pretending you don't hear the political nonsense coming from the left side of the table. But the headlines are too insane to ignore. Trump just met with far-left socialist Zohran Mamdani at the White House, confusing Democrats so badly they've short-circuited. Jasmine Crockett is out here melting down like it's a competition. And the Epstein files? They're hitting harder than grandma's sweet tea. Names dropping, elites sweating, and the media running cover like they always do. This is the week where every American gets a front-row seat to political stupidity at the dinner table. And today, we're preparing you for it. Welcome back to Data and Dissonance, your conservative home base in a world full of liberal noise. And since it's Thanksgiving week, we figured what better way to prep than to gather our own political table, a little sample platter of American viewpoints. First up, Brian, our MAGA firestarter, the guy who walks into Thanksgiving ready to fact-check the entire left side of the family tree before the turkey even hits the table. Next, Rachel, our independent who somehow stays sane despite watching both parties act like children. She's the calm voice of reason, the person you wish would moderate your Thanksgiving arguments. Third chair, Daniel, the conspiracy codebreaker, the relative who brings a binder to Thanksgiving and says, "Before we eat, let me show y'all something the media didn't tell you." And 9 times out of 10, he's right. And then we've got Skylar, our progressive, the vegan turkey-bringing, climate-lecturing, Trump is responsible for everything believer who keeps the liberal energy alive at the table. Every Thanksgiving needs one for entertainment value. And I'm your host, Artie, veteran, conservative, and the guy who's here to help you survive the chaos with facts, humor, and just enough blunt truth to make Thursday real interesting. Let's dig in. All right, let's kick this off with the political plot twist nobody had on their Thanksgiving bingo card. Donald J. Trump, the man the left claims is the boogeyman of democracy, invites far-left New York socialist Zohran Mamdani to the White House for a one-on-one sit-down. And within minutes, liberals online were having a collective spiritual crisis. They couldn't decide if Trump was playing 4D chess, betraying conservatives, converting Mamdani, or secretly running the Democratic Party at this point. Meanwhile, the conservative side is watching with a mix of curiosity and popcorn, because if there's one thing Trump does better than anyone, it's breaking the political matrix. But let's be honest, the left absolutely lost its damn mind. They didn't know who to attack first. Trump for daring to talk to a socialist, or Mamdani for daring to be in the same zip code as Trump. Add in the fact that it's Thanksgiving week. Families are already sharpening their political knives. And this meeting just poured gasoline on every dinner table argument nationwide. Brian, I'm bringing you in first because you were already texting the group chat about this before the meeting even ended. What do you make of Trump sitting across from a guy who probably thinks capitalism is a hate crime? And do you think Trump did this to troll the left right before Thanksgiving? Or is there a bigger play here that they're too busy screaming to understand?
Artie, I'll say it straight. Trump meeting with Mamdani is exactly why he keeps winning the psychological war with these people. The left was so sure they had Trump boxed into some cartoon villain role that when he sits down with one of their own radicals, they malfunction like Windows 95. And you're damn right he did this on purpose. It's Thanksgiving week, and Trump basically handed conservatives the ultimate dinner table grenade. You know how many liberal cousins are going to start sweating when Uncle Dave brings this up? Trump showed he's the adult in the room, willing to talk, negotiate, even listen, while Mamdani looked like a kid trying to argue Marxism with the CEO of reality. The left can't handle optics that make Trump look reasonable, and this made him look presidential as hell. They're mad because it destroys their entire narrative, and deep down, they know it.
Rachel, you're our balance beam here, so let me swing it your way. When you look at this meeting, what do you see? Is this one of those rare moments where two completely opposite ideologies can sit down and have a real conversation? Or is this Trump forcing the left to face its own hypocrisy? Because they've preached dialogue for years until Trump actually does it.
Honestly, Artie, it's a little of both. We live in this bizarre time where the left insists that they're the tolerant, open-minded party. But the second Mamdani accepted Trump's invitation, they threw him under the bus so fast it left tire marks. For me, the value of the meeting wasn't the symbolism, it was the shock. You had a socialist who fundamentally disagrees with Trump, yet showed up anyway. That alone is more maturity than half of Congress manages all year. But the real story is the reaction from Mamdani's own side. The panic, the anger, the name-calling. It proves the left doesn't want conversations, they want compliance. If you step outside their script, you're punished. Trump exposed that by simply shaking a hand. And that tells you everything about where American politics really is right now.
Daniel, I know your brain has been cooking on this since Friday. So I'm tossing you the conspiracy turkey early. If anybody can break down the layers behind this meeting, it's you. Was this Trump playing optics? Was Mamdani being used? Or, and I'm bracing myself here, is this connected to the larger meltdown we're seeing with the Epstein file release and the panic in elite circles?
Oh, it's absolutely connected, Artie. And anyone paying attention can see the patterns. Look at the timing. Epstein files exploding, elite networks getting exposed, judges scrambling, political insiders sweating through their collars. And suddenly, Trump sits down with a socialist who appeals directly to the oppressed masses narrative. That's not an accident. Trump's sending a message, I'll talk to anybody, but the truth is coming out regardless. Mamdani walked into that meeting thinking he was representing the ideological purity of the left. What he walked into was a political earthquake. My guess? Trump didn't need Mamdani for policy, he needed him for optics and pressure. Pressure on Democrats who've been hiding those Epstein files for 4 years. Pressure on elites who thought they were safe. Pressure on a system that is cracking. This meeting wasn't about a socialist sitting with Trump. It was about a socialist walking into a room where the truth is unfolding. And his side knows it.
And Skylar, I've got to bring you in, because your entire political world basically imploded when Mamdani walked into that meeting. The progressive corners of the internet acted like he committed treason just for entering the White House. So lay it out. How do you see this? And what's your reaction to the left turning on one of their own faster than a family argument breaks out when someone mentions politics before the Thanksgiving turkey is carved?
Artie, let me be very clear. The left's reaction wasn't some big meltdown. It was accountability. Mamdani walked into the White House knowing exactly what Trump represents to millions of marginalized people, and he did it anyway. That's why people were upset, because it felt like he validated a man whose policies they believe actively hurt vulnerable communities. And yes, the meeting confused people, but not because they malfunctioned. It confused them because it blurred a line that progressives take seriously. You don't legitimize what you view as harmful leadership. Now, do I think the reaction was maybe over the top in places? Sure. But to frame this as the left can't handle a conversation is missing the point. The point is that intentions matter. Power dynamics matter. Symbolism matters. And walking into that room symbolically hurt people who supported Mamdani's platform. That's why it stung. But here's the other side of it. If Trump is actually willing to listen, truly listen, then maybe this is a moment for him too. A moment to show he can hear beyond his base. Maybe not everything has to be a fight. Even at Thanksgiving, sometimes the unexpected conversation is the one that changes something. The left isn't afraid of talking. They're afraid of losing ground they fought for.
All right, fair enough, Skylar. Even if I think the left reacted like a family that just found out Grandma invited the wrong uncle to Thanksgiving dinner. But that's what this roundtable is for. Different views, same table, and nobody flipping the turkey. Now, speaking of flipping out, let's talk about Jasmine Crockett. Because her latest meltdown wasn't just political theater. It was the whole circus. All right, buckle up, because we're shifting gears from political strategy to political stupidity. And yes, those are two very different things. We've got to talk about Jasmine Crockett, the congresswoman who somehow manages to get louder every time she gets something wrong, which means she's practically operating at jet engine decibels now. Her latest meltdown, I don't even know what to call it. A rant? A tantrum? A wine before noon emotional spiral? Whatever it was a masterclass in how not to talk when you're an elected official. She was yelling, accusing, misquoting, talking in circles, making noises that sounded like a malfunctioning blender. The whole circus act. And ladies and gentlemen, this is who Democrats proudly elected. We're heading into Thanksgiving week, and Crockett basically just gave America a preview of every liberal relative you're about to deal with at the dinner table. So let's break it down. Brian, I'm starting with you because your reaction to Crockett's meltdown almost sent me into cardiac arrest. Explain to me, explain to America, how someone like Jasmine Crockett gets on TV, gets elected, gets a microphone, gets anything other than a timeout chair? What the hell was that performance supposed to be?
Artie, I'll tell you exactly what it was. Peak Democrat behavior. It was the same energy you get when your liberal cousin shows up to Thanksgiving 3 glasses deep and decides they're going to educate the entire family on politics while mispronouncing every name and confusing 3 different scandals. Crockett is the perfect symbol of the modern left. Loud, wrong, emotional, and allergic to facts. The woman gets triggered by her own shadow. She hears the word accountability and starts swinging like someone insulted her casserole. And the best part? The Democratic Party pretends she's some kind of rising star. Rising star of what? Volume? Ignorance? TikTok-level political literacy? She's not in Congress to legislate. She's there to be the loudest person in every room. And they love her for it, because she distracts from the fact that half her party can't explain basic policy without Googling it first. Crockett is noise, not substance. And honestly, she's the reason Republicans win independence.
Rachel, you've got more patience than the rest of us. So let me ask you this. When someone like Crockett gets on national TV and does whatever the hell that was, how does it land with independents? Because I can't imagine anyone sitting in the middle hearing that and thinking, yes, that's leadership. That's who I trust with tax dollars.
Honestly, Artie, it's exhausting. People in the middle are tired. Tired of the screaming, tired of the theatrics, tired of politicians who treat public office like it's an open mic night. Crockett's outburst wasn't passion, it was chaos. And independents know the difference. What makes it worse is that she never provides clarity or substance. She creates noise, confusion, and division. And it feeds into the perception that Washington is completely unserious. The average American watching that clip isn't thinking about party lines, they're thinking, these people represent us? And she's not alone. There are voices like hers on both sides, but Crockett is uniquely consistent in how often she melts down. It makes it hard to respect the office when the person in it doesn't respect the responsibility. And as we go into Thanksgiving, she's exactly the kind of rhetoric that's going to turn normal family conversations into political cage matches. People are tired of it, and it shows.
Daniel, I already know you've connected Crockett's meltdown to something bigger because you always do. What's your read here? Is this just a woman who can't handle debate? Or is there a deeper strategy, if we can even call it that, in Democrats elevating people who yell instead of think?
Oh, there's always a pattern, Artie. Crockett isn't an accident, she's a distraction. While she's out there throwing verbal grenades and dragging attention away from real issues, what's the media doing? Focusing on her personality instead of the policies Democrats don't want public scrutiny on. This is the same party that hides incompetence behind theatrics. The louder she yells, the less people pay attention to the bills being passed quietly in the background. And look at the timing. Her meltdown happens right when the Epstein files are blowing up, and Democrats are scrambling to figure out how to control the fallout. You can't tell me the noise isn't convenient. Crockett's job is not to be effective. It's to create chaos, so the public looks away from whatever politicians in her own party, hope stays in the dark. She's not leading, she's misdirecting. And the left relies on people like her because distraction is their strongest weapon.
Skylar, I know you're already revving up, because Crockett is basically a hero to the loud side of the left. So help me understand your side here. What do progressives see in Crockett's approach that the rest of America clearly doesn't? And do you honestly think this kind of behavior helps your movement? Or just entertains it?
Artie, first, let me say this. Jasmine Crockett is passionate. She's outspoken. And she's not afraid to challenge Republicans who often talk over women, especially women of color. So when people call her loud or emotional, what I hear is someone who's tired of being dismissed and is fighting to be heard. Could she be calmer? Sure. But she represents communities that are frustrated with injustice, frustrated with policies that hurt their neighborhoods, frustrated with being ignored. Her tone reflects that frustration. And while you may see chaos, like a lot of people see someone finally expressing what they've felt for years. Is it perfect? No. But not every moment in Congress has to be polished. Sometimes raw emotion shines a light on issues people would rather avoid. And as for Thanksgiving, yeah, her energy might show up at some dinner tables. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe people should talk about the uncomfortable stuff instead of burying it under mashed potatoes.
All right, Skylar, fair enough. Even if Crockett sounds less like a representative and more like someone arguing with a Walmart cashier over expired coupons. But this is why we have the round table. Different worlds, same table. Deep inhale. Now, speaking of things Democrats would rather not talk about, it's time. We're diving into the Epstein files, the resignations, the panic, the spin, and the meltdown happening behind the scenes. All right, folks, deep breath. Because this is where the show gets hot. We're talking about the Epstein files, and this past week has felt like watching the elites go through the 5 stages of grief at double speed. You've got resignations popping up like burnt rolls on Thanksgiving morning. You've got Democrats suddenly pretending they've wanted these files released this whole time, even though they had 4 years to release them, and somehow never got around to it. You've got talking heads online insisting Trump is the one hiding something, even though he's the one who ordered them unsealed. And then there's the absolute meltdown happening on social media. Trump redacted everything. Trump covered up his involvement. Trump had time to erase the evidence. As if the man has a magic delete button that works on Democratic-controlled archives. It's insanity. And the chaos couldn't come at a better time because we're heading into Thanksgiving, and trust me, this is going to be the topic that blows up more family gatherings than undercooked stuffing ever could. Brian, I'm coming to you first because you've been on fire about this all week. Break it down for us. How are Democrats trying to spin this? And why are they pretending Trump had time to cover up evidence when their own people had the files locked behind political red tape for years?
Artie, this is the greatest political comedy I've seen in my life. Democrats had all the power, the committees, the judges, the agencies, and they did absolutely nothing with these files. Nothing. Not a damn thing. And the moment Trump says, fine, enough games, release everything, suddenly the left goes into full meltdown mode like he hacked into some secret vault at 3 a.m. with a flashlight in his mouth. They had 4 years to expose anyone. If Trump was guilty, they could have crucified him, and they know it. Instead, the minute transparency becomes unavoidable. Democrats start sprinting around like cockroaches when the kitchen light flips on. Their panic tells you everything. And the Trump deleted everything crowd? Bro. These are the same people who can't delete their browser history without calling their nephew. They think Trump erased federal evidence from agencies they controlled? Come on. The panic is because some names on the left, big names, are about to drop. And they know Thanksgiving is going to be real awkward when Uncle Mike brings printouts to the table.
Rachel, give us the independent lens here. We've seen the left's denial, the right's outrage, and the absolute chaos online. What does the average middle-of-the-road American see when they look at this circus?
What I see, Artie, is a government that's been playing keep away with the truth for far too long. Most Americans, regardless of party, don't care whose name is in those files. They want the truth. They want accountability. They want to know who abused power and harmed vulnerable people. And the fact that these files have been stuck in political limbo for years makes all of Congress look bad. Democrats blocked them when it was convenient. Republicans didn't push hard enough early on. And now, suddenly, everyone wants to pretend they've always been champions of transparency. It's ridiculous. People are tired of political games. They want real answers. And yes, Thanksgiving will be tense this year, because this isn't a right versus left issue. This is a powerful versus the people issue, and everyone feels that.
Daniel, this is your territory. Your wall of arrows and red yarn probably looks like a CIA briefing right now. So tell us, what's really going on? Why the panic? And why now?
Artie, the timing is everything. Look at the collapses we've seen. Judges panicking, random politicians stepping down, media outlets suddenly shifting the narrative. That doesn't happen unless the power structure knows it's bleeding. These files aren't just embarrassing, they're destabilizing. They connect donors, politicians, celebrities, intelligence assets, financiers, elites who thought they were untouchable. That's why the left is screaming about Trump deleting evidence. It's projection. They had every opportunity to release the truth when it would hurt him. They didn't, because the truth hurts them more. And notice what's happening behind the scenes. Quiet resignations, sealed hearings, lawyers scrambling like someone lit the floor on fire. That's not politics, that's self-preservation. The Epstein files are not a scandal. They're the tip of a power iceberg. And the meltdown is the sound of the political class realizing the water's rising.
Skylar, I know this is a tough one on your side of the aisle, because damage is coming for both parties. But I want your honest progressive angle here. What's your take on how the Epstein files are being released, how people are reacting, and do you think the left is handling this well or blowing it?
Artie, here's the truth. Nobody should be protected. Not Democrats, not Republicans, not celebrities, not billionaires. If someone abused children or participated in that system, I don't care what letter is next to their name. Expose them. The left's mistake? Acting like this is somehow Trump's fault. It's not. And the right's mistake. Acting like the left is the only side terrified. Both sides had people close to Epstein. Both sides had people looking the other way. And honestly, progressives like me have been saying this. The entire elite class protects itself. So yes, the panic is real, but it's because the entire system enabled it. I don't think Democrats are handling this well. I don't think Republicans are either. But if this is finally the moment where the truth breaks through, even if it's messy, even if it's painful, then let the chips fall. Kids deserve justice more than politicians deserve protection.
Well said, even if I think your side is way more nervous than mine. But that's what makes this table work. This Epstein story is far from over, and trust me, as the names drop, as the files open, as the panic spreads, we'll be right here breaking it all down. All right, Patriots, before we hit final thoughts, let's talk about something you can actually take to Thanksgiving dinner without causing a political brawl. The official Data and Dissonance merch drop, loaded with enough patriotic heat to make your liberal relatives quietly reevaluate their life choices. We've got the full lineup stocked for the holiday week. The High Lakes Light Roast for the early risers who need a clean, crisp kick to survive cooking for 12. The Rock Creek Medium Roast for that smooth, balanced caffeine hit when family tensions start simmering. And of course, the Bitterroot Dark Roast, the one you pour right before the political debates start flying like dinner rolls. We've also got the hoodies, the tumblers, the bumper stickers, the hats, the Gen X gear, the tote bags, the mugs, everything you need to represent the show while supporting the mission. Every purchase helps keep this platform independent, helps support my mom, and helps us keep speaking truth loud enough to overpower the noise. So whether you're gearing up for Thanksgiving travels, prepping for a chaotic family dinner, or just treating yourself for surviving 2025, hit the merch and grab something that matches your attitude and your patriot spirit. All right, folks, we're coming into the home stretch of tonight's Thanksgiving week episode, and before we hand the mic around the table one last time, I want to set the tone. Because this week is always a reminder of what matters and what absolutely doesn't. We've covered a lot tonight. Trump sitting down with Mamdani and sending half the internet into therapy. Jasmine Crockett proving once again that volume is not a substitute for thought. And the Epstein files shaking the elite class harder than your uncle shakes his head every time someone mentions student loan forgiveness. And now we head into a week where Americans sit at real tables with real families. Conservative, liberal, independent, confused, loud, tired, and still trying to figure out what the hell went wrong in Washington. Some of you are going to be across from relatives who think Trump controls the weather. Some of you will sit next to relatives who think taxes are a moral obligation. Some of you will have a cousin who just discovered Marxism on TikTok. And some of you will have an uncle who shows up with printouts of the Epstein files like he's leading a congressional hearing in the living room. So, as we get into our final thoughts tonight, I want each of our panelists to bring something real. Not just politics, not just arguments, but perspective for the week ahead. A mindset, a message, something you can take to the dinner table without flipping it over. Maybe. Because politics never stops. Not for the holidays, not for family, and definitely not for a country that's trying to figure out who's lying the least. But Thanksgiving gives us a pause. A moment to breathe, argue a little, laugh a lot, and still find common ground under the noise. So with that, let's pass the mic one more time.
Look, Artie, as we head into Thanksgiving week, my message is simple. Don't back down. Don't let loud voices, bad arguments, or politically confused relatives make you shrink your values down to something digestible for people who wouldn't respect you either way. We're living through one of the biggest political storms of our lifetime. Epstein files blowing open, elites scrambling, the left melting down over Trump talking to anybody with a pulse, and Democrats pushing clown-level theatrics like Jasmine Crockett to distract from their failures. This is not the time to be quiet, but it is the time to be calm, confident, and grounded in the truth. When Thursday comes and someone at the table brings up politics, because someone always will, speak with clarity, not anger, facts, not fear, and remember that being a conservative in 2025 means being the adult in the room, the backbone of common sense, and the only political group left that still believes America's worth saving. Be proud of that. Be steady, and pass the mashed potatoes without throwing them.
Thanksgiving has a funny way of reminding us that real people, real families, and real communities matter more than whatever circus is happening in Washington. And while tonight's topics are serious, corruption, incompetence, scandal, we can't lose sight of the humanity in the middle of it all. Most people you sit with on Thursday aren't your enemies. They're just tired, stressed, overwhelmed, and trying to make sense of a system that feels broken. So my final thought is this: lead with grace. You don't have to agree with everyone. You don't have to debate every point. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is listen, ask questions, and remember that relationships are bigger than arguments. The country is divided enough. Don't let politics fracture the people you actually care about. Bring kindness to the table, even when you bring facts too. It goes a long way.
As we go into Thanksgiving, I want everyone listening to remember one thing. Patterns don't lie. Politicians do, media does, institutions do. But patterns, they always expose the truth. The Epstein files aren't just a scandal. They're a crack in a dam that's been holding back decades of corruption. The timing, the panic, the rush statements, the resignations, this is not random. It's calculated, it's coordinated, and it's unraveling. So as you sit at the table this week, don't ignore the signs. Don't brush off the weird coincidences or the things that don't add up. Whether it's the elites panicking, the politicians deflecting, or the media suddenly changing tone. Ask the deeper why. And don't be afraid of the truth, just because it's uncomfortable. The truth is messy, disruptive, and often painful, but it's the only thing that keeps a society from rotting. Stay alert, stay aware, and never let anyone convince you that looking closer makes you crazy. It makes you awake.
As we head into this holiday, I want to remind everyone that Thanksgiving isn't just about food or tradition. It's about gratitude, connection, and reflection. And even though this table is full of disagreements tonight, I'm still grateful for every voice here, because dialogue is how progress happens. We may clash politically, we may argue about policy, we may see the world differently, but at the end of the day, we're all trying to build something better, even if we disagree on how to get there. My final thought is this: let empathy lead the way. Not every Republican is your enemy. Not every Democrat is your savior. Not every disagreement needs to become a battlefield. This week, take the time to listen, to breathe, to appreciate the people around you, even the ones who challenge you. And don't forget, change doesn't start in Washington. It starts in homes, in conversations, in communities. Make this week one of compassion, even in disagreement.
As we close out tonight's show and head into Thanksgiving week, I want to leave you with something real. Something beyond the headlines, beyond the politics, beyond the chaos that seems to hit this country like clockwork. You know, every year around this time, we all get reminded, whether we like it or not, that America is still worth fighting for. It's worth debating for, worth arguing for, worth losing friends over and gaining wisdom from. That's what nights like this, conversations like this, and tables like this are really about. Not the noise, but the meaning beneath it. We talked tonight about Trump doing what Democrats claim they want, reaching across divides and getting screamed at for it. We talked about Jasmine Crockett proving once again that volume doesn't equal value. We talked about the Epstein files finally cracking open and forcing people in power to face what they've hidden. And through all of it, the message is the same. Truth matters. Integrity matters. Courage matters. And the people still willing to speak honestly, even when it's uncomfortable, matter more than ever. This week, when you sit around your Thanksgiving table, you're going to run into every political archetype America has. The loud leftist, the quiet conservative, the confused moderate, the person who gets their news from memes, the person who brings a binder of evidence, the person who doesn't care at all, and the person who cares way too much. And guess what? That's America. That's us. That mess, that friction, that loud, opinionated, evolving family. That's the whole story of who we are. So my final thought is simple. Bring truth. Bring humor. Bring patience. Bring strength. Don't shrink to make other people comfortable. Don't go quiet just because someone else goes loud. But also don't let politics steal the gratitude from your week. Because despite everything going wrong in this country, we still have something most of the world doesn't. The freedom to disagree loudly without losing who we are. Be proud of what you believe. Be open to what you can learn. Be grateful for the people at your table, even the ones who test your sanity. Because those relationships matter more than partisan insanity ever will. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, take care of your people, and as always, remember to speak truth. Stir thought. This episode of Data and Dissonance is brought to you by the Caleb Rourke Thriller series. The books that prove America still has authors who understand grit, danger, and the fight for truth. If you're tired of cookie-cutter fiction, tired of weak heroes and predictable plots, and you want a story with teeth, something built around patriotism, mystery, intelligence operations, dark alliances, and the kind of moral clarity this country desperately needs, then you need the Covenant Protocol and the Prophet Directive. Book 1 and Book 2 are out right now, and Book 3, Black Echo Rising, is coming this December. These stories aren't just entertainment. They're an escape, a message, and a warning wrapped into one. Written for readers who miss the days when heroes stood for something and when villains felt real because they were real. Caleb Rourke isn't a cape-wearing superhero. He's a flawed, dangerous, relentless operator fighting in the shadows of a world that looks a whole lot like ours. So, whether you're traveling for Thanksgiving, surviving awkward family conversations, or just wanting a damn good book to get lost in, pick up the Caleb Rourke thriller series. Support independent creators. Support the mission. And step into a world where the truth hits harder than the lies ever could.